This episode of Chops is brought to you by Sight Reading Factory.
Sight Reading Factory generates virtually infinite music for students to sight read with customizable difficulty levels to give them exactly what they need. Sheet music is generated on the spot for your ensemble, and individual parts with correct transpositions are sent to students' devices. Sight reading with an ensemble has never been easier.
Okay, Jack, what if it created a rhythm and cut time? 2 quarter notes, 2/8 notes, and a quarter rest. How would that go?
Probably something like this.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chops Podcast. I'm Steve Peterson.
I'm Jack Hinkle.
We're so glad to have you with us as we explore topics of knowing your students, knowing your content, and knowing your teaching, known as the trifecta. So glad to have you on this beautiful March day. Jack, it is the first day back after daylight savings time.
Yeah, it
started, and I don't know, is it worth talking about that for just a second?
I'm sure. What do you got?
Okay,
You sleeping?
I'm sleeping. Like, I slept fine last night. I don't. This guy doesn't have a problem sleeping. But what I noticed is that I would sit at my kitchen table in the morning, and like I'd be there at 7, looking towards the southeast, and I could see each day the progression of the sun. Right? Yep. The pre-sunset. Well, you go out and run, and what a nice natural gift that is, like to have your mornings lighter.
Yeah,
and,
it was nice while it lasted.
And your days get longer in the evening, having more sunshine, just like a minute or two each day. But then we do this thing where we roll it back, and so the mornings are dark, so I don't appreciate that. I don't get like the benefit of nature. And then it feels like I'm having some kind of like plastic surgery, because the end of the day, then I just have like an extra hour of sunshine that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That seems kind of fake to me.
Yeah, the morning today was like really depressing. I was expecting to feel like more tired.
Chuck, are you crying? No.
Nope, that's just my makeup. No, I woke up today and I was like, okay, we're good. I can do this. And then I went on the run. I was like, okay, feeling good. And then I came downstairs and it's still pitch black. I'm like, come on. This isn't right.
Right.
And then I'm driving to school and it's like barely light out. And I'm like, oh, man, this is rough. And then, I'm kind of on the earlier bedtime these days. Like I'm in bed at 9. And tonight I'm going to come home and be like, no, come on, get dark.
We're grilling.
I'm trying to sleep
Put
over
the ribs
here.
on. Right?
I mean, I do like if you had to ask me which one to keep permanently,
which one?
I would say this one, because I like the later.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's because especially for the summer, like it's more fun.
But
to have
10 o'clock, we need light. It's like we're living in Alaska, eating salmon 24/7.
I think
What's wrong with America?
I think the long day's kind of nice, but in the summer it evens out because it's still going to be light out at 6 a.m.
It is.
It is not light out at 6 a.m. right now, and I'm wearing my safety blinking LED vest when I'm out in the roads trying not to get hit by cars.
Warning! Runner coming through.
That's what
Warning.
it looks like.
I'm just glad you're safe.
Most days, yeah.
That's good.
That's it.
I'm glad you're doing that.
So you know how it goes. We come back. Today's going to be pretty normal. It's kind of normal. I think the kids are going to be like shot tomorrow. Like
really?
Totally. I think the second day is the hardest of the time change.
Oh, you shouldn't have told me that, because I just told you like about the energy today. I thought in the classroom today was like pretty good.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah, I thought so.
And I was expecting a little bit of more of a wah-wah because of the time change, but I kind of do remember that. It's like the layover.
Brian Golden and I were talking about this last week. He's like, yeah, my body was like the first day, it's just like, yeah, you're waking up early. Okay, big deal. And then the next day, it's like, oh, we're serious. We're serious.
We're really getting up this early.
Okay, boys, let's go. Yeah, so we'll see how it is tomorrow. But I was happy with the kids today. I thought they were appropriately energized for a Monday.
Hey, that's all you can ask for. Actually, you can ask for a lot more. You notice you won't always get it.
We usually do.
Okay, so today, Jack, we're going to talk about Jello.
And enemies.
Jello and your enemies. Okay? That's the clickbait for today.
Jello and enemies.
Okay.
Not anemones.
Yeah, and I just to clarify, and I'm not talking about the Jello that you would put like in a bump pan or something they would use on The Office and put Dwight's stapler in it and
What?
like really like firm Jello that
What?
holds something.
Oh, we're talking like, I didn't know there were different kinds of Jello.
Oh, Jack. Okay, this is
You don't
not
have to sound so patronizing with the microphone whisper. Oh, Jack. I'm not eating Jello these days. You know why? Because I'm a grown man, Steve. I have teeth.
Hey, womb to tomb, baby. You eat it when your early parts of life, you eat it, and in the later parts of life.
I've never heard the phrase "womb to tomb," but
What?
I think that's good.
That's West Side Story. That's like a gang thing of the Jets and Sharks. We're brothers. We're together. Womb to tomb.
West Side Story. Yeah, I saw that musical once.
Okay, sorry. So Jello, not like Jello that's just kind of like sits there in a blob and doesn't really have much shape and presence to it. It's like really soft.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm Jello.
You are Jello.
I'm Jello.
I try to be Jello sometimes.
And I think it's okay to be Jello.
This can we do a little like scene enactment of Jello and non-Jello?
Yes.
Okay. Sweet. IB student. Because you know you're you're just good at these things. You're good at it. Or do we need to explain first what
No,
Jello
go
is?
ahead. What do you got?
Okay.
Okay, you're the student. Hey, Jack, good to see you. Welcome back to class today.
Yeah, I need a charger.
Hey, let's try that again. How you doing, Jack? Good to see you.
Hi, Mr. Peterson. I'm good. Can I get a charger?
Oh, not quite what I was looking for. How about a hey, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, what do you need? A charger?
Can I get a charger?
You betcha, buddy. Here you go.
Thanks. That was Jello, right?
That was Jello.
Okay. Are you doing non-Jello now?
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, can I get a charger?
Hey, you come to my desk. This is Mr. P's mansion. You knock before you enter. You say yes, please, thank you. And I'm busy right now with a student, and it's not my job to bring your charger.
So my iPad's dead.
I don't care.
Guess it's not my job to do my work then.
What do you say? What?
I guess it's not my job to do my work then.
Okay. There we go. That's not Jello. That's
Not
Teflon.
Jello. That is stainless steel kitchen appliance. What? When you say Jello, you hadn't talked to this with me before the podcast started, but you had kind of given a couple examples of what like Jello could be. But the words you used is you can't fight Jello. Because if you punch Jello,
your hand goes right through it. You're like, ow! I just
like
got
that was gross. That was worse for me than the Jello. So you used like you used a teaching Jello. You're like, let's do it again. Try it again.
Try it
right?
again.
But before we were talking about some other options of Jello you use or employ with your students. Sometimes you had said that you try to be unpredictable, or you be distracting, or you be spontaneous. There are a couple of options.
If I think silliness can be met with silliness, I think that sarcasm can be met with sarcasm, and I think trolling can be met with trolling if done in a correct dose and being done safely. But I really think that the questions that we get as teachers, which could get under our skin a little bit, those are ripe moments for being Jello and maybe giving a non-response or a non-sequitur response that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, or change it into gibberish like, I'm so glad you were thinking about my dog wearing that flannel shirt again. You don't say that. I do say that stuff. It's okay to change things up. And if I want to get punched verbally, I know how to do that.
Trust us.
I know how to do that. I'm a trained professional. If I want to get wailed on verbally, I know the trigger words, and I know to challenge kids in front of other kids. And I know to make a scene and to draw out my power. I know I will get punched verbally by that. What I'm saying is, if we kind of, the old adage also of taking the wind out of the sail, of still being there as a person, but not just taking everything head on and let some of it slide by like you're a bullfighter. It's not letting kids have their way. It's helping them channel their energy so it hopefully diffuses into something behind you can't see. It passes through you. And I think of instances that we've had, like in the band rehearsal room, calling out a student for specific behavior and basically singling that student out in front of 70 kids.
Sorry, I'm now with the laughter. I'm with you now. Okay.
And where you create a stage, with the drama where it just becomes unbearable not to watch. And things get said to kind of back a student into the corner. And so when the student responds, you're not Jello, you are sharpened steel. And everything is going to create a loud ping on your belly and create a ding in the room. And people are going to go, ooh, now what are you going to do? You don't want to ever get in that situation. Turn away from that. Turn yourselves to Jello. But it's not being a wimp. It's not being soft. It's being clever. It's getting behind enemy lines. And it's getting behind enemy lines without even being an enemy. But it's being a kind of teacher where you don't combat.
It's not being soft, it's being clever. That's good.
That's it.
That's it. It's not being soft, it's being clever. Because what good is it going to do? Because you're at that point, you saying something to the kid in front of the class is you saving your own face. It's not about teaching at that point. It's like, no. I must posture for my students.
Yeah, and
moment's gone, buddy.
And we know that people don't like to be singled out, but we also especially know teenagers, adolescents, they are in the prime of the protecting their turf. And anything that could endanger that, seen as a threat, could be, claws out.
Yes.
And I don't want to be in that because I know I can't win. Nobody can win that. You can't win. It just leads to tension and more tension and hardships. And you really, really, really need to step aside from those moments and let those moments pass. And Jack, take that time to bring it down, to talk with those students one-on-one, away from the audience, away from the loud voices, away, so we don't create a power struggle. I would never on the podium get in a one-to-one, knock it off, no I'm not, yes you are. I would never do that, because that is like you're just looking for your rocket that you're in to crash. Don't do that kind of behavior in front of your students where you argue with them. Don't ever do that.
I'm going to do that.
Sorry. I know you're going to do that unless somebody is unsafe or it's immoral behavior. But you can't do that. You lose the street cred from the other students There's power in that student gaining up and rising up. And also, you're not teaching a life skill about how you might handle conflict in the future.
And worse, you're demonstrating how conflict will be handled in the future.
Yes.
And you're giving kids a pathway to fight you.
You're modeling that.
Yeah.
You've got to model. You have got to model what this is supposed to go like.
Scary stuff.
And it's tough. If you're out there, teacher, whoever you are, 5 years in, and you're teaching junior high orchestra, and you have a kid that won't stop playing his instrument backwards, or if you have that kid that continually puts his chair on the back of the chair, or puts his back on the back of the chair, or that student that habitually comes in 5 minutes late, or the student that can't stop wiggling their knees, or whatever it is that is kind of drawing attention for you, you cannot take that head on, make it a showdown, and expect it to go well for you.
Because it won't.
And I wish I would have known that like a whole heck of a lot earlier in my career.
Well, they say you teach like you've been taught to teach. Right? Like, and you teach like the former teachers you've seen. And, you know, in your defense, you know, you went to school in the 80s.
Yeah.
That weren't the 80s kind of like full on authoritarian, like that
Totally.
was the vibe.
Totally.
Teachers weren't as creative back then, maybe because they didn't have to be.
Right.
You know, I think of one of your stories from your high school jazz band experience.
Okay.
You got it?
I got it.
Go for it.
Okay. High school jazz band, sophomore year, boy talking in the trombone section. Teacher, Rich, quit talking. Student, I wasn't talking. Yes, you were. Now shut up, Rich. I wasn't talking. Yes, you were. And the student goes, bull roar. And the teacher goes, bull roar my beep. In front of 20 teenagers. And I'm 56. That happened 40 years ago. And I still laugh at that. God bless my jazz band director. May he rest in peace. Beautiful soul. But bull war my beep is where it got to. But that was kind of more a sign of the times. But that student just brought it back. And it was like, ooh, one punch. Ooh, ha, ooh, my boop. And you're like, wow, that was intense. And I don't ever want to be in that.
Were you on tenor in that jazz band?
Yeah.
So you were, I'm just trying to imagine your viewpoint. You're like, you know, if you're in the rhythm section, that's like watching a tennis match, right?
Yeah,
you can go
I
left,
kind of
right.
had
You're
to
like
look
back and forth.
I had to look back and forth. Yeah, a little neck
Was
sprain
that
on
and
one.
that everyone's like stomach at that point was like, oh.
And now that became legendary too.
Well, we still talk about it. You and Scott Preheim were both in that band, and
Yes.
it comes up at lunch every once in a while.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So have you ever gotten cooked by that?
Yeah. I brought that up on the podcast when that kid shoved me.
Yeah.
Put your chair away. Turns away. Hey, can you put your chair away? Turns away. Taps shoulder gently. Shoved into the ground. I'm not putting my chair away. Okay, you're not putting your chair away. Okay.
I'm Jello and I just peed my pants.
I just a student teacher. I don't think I qualify for workman's comp, so do whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's scary. I did run into something like my third year of teaching when a student used some profanity at me when I asked a student to not do something.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was out of tools. I knew not to escalate. I didn't do that. So I was still a young teacher, and I didn't really know what to do after that. And I think I had some options, but I was like afraid to kind of pull those out, like some more severe things. I didn't know if that was the right time or not. So I think I just went and got Brian to help handle the situation. Not the best. If I was in that situation now, I'd know how to handle it a lot better. But I didn't yell at that student.
Can you
go ahead?
Can you unpack that just a little bit more, like detail, like what the sitch was, and just so like people can imagine like what you did and then maybe what you want to do now, or
sure. The situation was in marching band, and we have certain dressing procedures, and the students have to take care of hair and piercings and facial hair, and there's just certain things that have to go along with that. Student had a piercing in, student would not take it out. I went back to the student and said, "No, you need to take this out." And the student said, "Get off my bleep." I'm like, "Okay, what now?"
Did the student walk away?
Yeah. Well, the other bad part too is it was like we were transiting, so the whole time we're moving, so it's kind of hard to. And you're on a time crunch. You got 5 minutes until you perform or whatever. So that whole time we were moving, that's when I got Brian. Now, I would have given the student a choice and said, if that's not coming out, you can't march. Up to you. And if that student would have refused, I would say we can't march. And I think if that student maybe would have tried to say like, no, I'm going to march anyway, you can't stop me.
Right.
Then I'd be kind of concerned. I think I would say like, maybe at that point, can I get some moms and dads over here, like parent volunteers, help me get this kid away? I mean, that's kind of all you could do at that point. So that's how I would have handled it now.
Okay.
But I just didn't have the wherewithal to kind of come up with those on the spot. Maybe I was afraid to, if I pulled her out, somebody like another director would be like, no, she needs to be in. So
so those of you that have listened to the podcast for a while appreciate and know Jack's outlook on things and his confidence and his humility. But going to this situation is like he used the word like scared, like was unsure what to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's like totally appropriate. And I think that happens to us as even in present day. You have to, you're always negotiating in your mind, like when to push and when to pull.
And you don't, and the problem is, it's like that is going to be what, once she pulled out the inappropriate language, you kind of cross a boundary with that kid.
Yes.
And that is going to be something that you and that student remember for a long time. And if other people are around, they also remember that for a long time. So you're kind of in go mode as a teacher. Like you have to come up with a appropriate solution, and you have to do it like now. And especially on that time crunch, because we had like 4 minutes till we were at the field. Yeah. And so I just didn't have the chops to figure it out and go. Now I would have. And the other thing was I didn't have a strong relationship with that student. I don't mean bad or good. I just mean it was only my third year. So we weren't together like that much. I didn't know the kids as well. I didn't know the program as well. I didn't know teaching as well. And now that like it's my 9th year, I know how the program runs. I know that my colleagues would trust me to make the correct decision and would back me up no matter what. Like there's so many other factors that go into that have nothing to do with the kid. And being able to look at all of those like full scope as a 24-year-old was just not in the game plan that day. So I'm thankful now I can look back on it and be like, I can see what I can do differently. I'm thankful I didn't blow up at the kid like right as we're going into a contest, because that would also have affected some other people around us, you know? But that's one that comes to mind. And, in the same vein, there was one that came up in the last few years where luckily not at me, but like a student was like swearing at another kid in the same like transit to a marching band show.
Okay.
And you hear like, get the bleep bleep on my bleep bleep bleep. And I'm like, okay, turn around and see what's going on here. So I think I just pulled that student aside and I said, we're not saying this. We're not saying this. Yeah. Go back. And was it that different? I don't think so. But, I was a much older teacher.
Yeah.
I had a better relationship with
Yep.
that student. And that is something that, like, I think I had, this isn't a great use of the word, but like intimidation factor. You can use that from time to time, especially in a high stress, situation.
And I'm sure you said it very similar to what you just said it.
I did, but my facial expression was much more like dire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not doing this. We're not doing that. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
And, I think my street cred as a teacher is very laid back and very positive. So the moment I deviate from that, I think it speaks really loudly. And that's something I do intentionally because I'm so positive and calm and pretty consistent with how I present that the moment I step away from that, the kids are like, okay, don't mess with him.
Right.
So I think that's meaningful. Going back to you, can you talk about some situations that you were also Jello, but like in different ways?
Yes, I can. I think the fun of working with teenagers is that they're all a little bit crazy. Not really clinically, but it's like
Well, their frontal lobe is not as
they're
developed as
not,
ours.
Not developed. They're exactly, and they go into the fight or flight
Constantly.
constantly. I mean, that's what they're doing. But if you watch them through the day, like they're jockeying for position all the time. So I don't want myself to be like impeding their progress of their social pecking order unless I think it's dangerous, right? So I don't want to be seen as like trying to brush them off their block, right? But I know that students can be wonderful manipulators of time. In the situation that I work in with alternative ed and students that will want to talk one-on-one but not really want to get work done, and there's got to be a give and take. There's got to be we're going to do this for a few minutes, and then we're going to switch back to algebra real quick, okay, and do that. But I have to allow that to happen. I have to allow that time to take place, that connection to, put pennies in the bank. And, I can think of a time earlier this year that at Aspire, where I had a student use inappropriate language at me that was aimed at me. And I felt like afterwards, like I didn't lose my temper. I stayed calm. I said, we're going over to the office, get your stuff, and made a phone call to parents and that whole thing, and that person got taken home. I felt bad, though, after that. I felt bad that the time that I had spent getting to know that student and getting to hear their story and to build some trust and build some communication and some mutual respect, I felt like it came crashing down. Yeah. And part of it was based on me because basically it was a trust issue. Like I didn't trust what they were saying. And I kind of dug my heels in. I wasn't Jello. I didn't give the student the benefit of the doubt when it would have been no ding to me as a person to take their stance. And it wasn't even on a huge thing, but it was like I was trying to catch the student in a lie, which may or may not have happened. But I decided to put my foot down because I knew better. And student got removed from class, fine, but I also lost a lot of time with that student that we had built up. And it kind of like here we go again with the teacher accusing me of this, this, or this. That was an example of me being more Teflon. In that situation now, if I could go back and that was like September, I would say to the student, this is what I saw on my computer. See what I see? See how yours says that? Mine says you were doing this. Yours says we were doing that. So just be aware that I'm seeing something right now and it says you're not on task. So please make sure you're not doing that anymore. Okay? Just make sure that we're really clear and make it obvious what you're doing. Instead of like challenging the student to say, I'm right, you're wrong. Because once you say that, you're in. And you're in a jousting match, and someone's got to fall off the horse. And it may go a few rounds. And I don't demand yourself to be right in front. Don't demand a student. You cannot demand anybody a certain reaction or action. So you have to be very careful about how you present options to students and not put them in a place where they're going to choose badly.
So for the listeners, what would you say to them if they're like, well, how do you hold the kids accountable for their actions if you can't totally let them know that they're wrong? Like, I mean, was this kid like cheating? Is that like he was looking at some document he wasn't supposed to?
It was basically being off task and not taking a test. And I was saying you weren't taking a test. And the student says I was taking a test.
So how do you hold the kid accountable if you don't call him out on the lie?
I think given that moment in that specific case, that wasn't the one to die on at that point. But what I would have done was let it continue at that point. Afterwards, when it's all submitted, bring the student up to my desk and say, I have a concern because my screen says you were doing this. This is what you're saying, and that wasn't a good scene. I didn't want to bring it up during the test. I didn't want to make a scene, and I'm not calling you a liar, but this is what it looks like. So we're going to take the test again, or whatever it needs to be. I think of like being in a band rehearsal when you have a student. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you go to Daisy Elementary School and you work with the Marching Acorns and they're beautiful and they you know, you never have any kind of discipline problems, but I think for most of us mortals that happens. And I think we have great kids at Concord, and I think there's a great tradition and there's a great respect, but you know, it happens. Kids go sideways sometimes. And one thing that we used to do, it started with a particular student that just really had a hard time controlling his mouth, like impulsively towards other students, was really not good accepting any kind of feedback, constructive criticism, was very poor with the attention to how fast we're going to get things done, and was like just on the back end of things all the time. And one thing that we came up with was addressing that student individually on the field and say, I'd like you to stand over here in the end zone by yourself. And when you feel like you can come back and do this and do this and do this and do this, I want you to come back. But until then, I want you to stand there by yourself and come back when you're ready. So, you know, kind of like the timeout thing, but not letting anybody else know what was going on. Not letting them know that there was a problem, and just taking that they're extracting themselves basically. Yeah. I know that we did that, you know, last year. Just, you know, a student that was having a hard time. Okay, come over here, stand behind the trailer so nobody can see you, and like reboot, like give them an out. I think of a concert band situation. No, let me go back. SRT, PCC, Prep for College and Career Students. The freshmen, I had a freshman that was really rude to me about a hat, right, and laying on the floor. And it was really rude, and it escalated really quickly. And I said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I said, "The next time I ask you, it won't be my problem. It will be the administration's problem." So I said, "Just want to be sure." And he's like, "Beep beep," and I was like, "Okay, we have entered the loading zone."
Checkity check.
Texted our friends on the associate principal helpline, and they come, and did not engage in fight back behavior, because I know that would have gone horribly wrong. Horribly wrong. That student was itching for a blowback, and it could have been really bad. So I had to step back, say this way, as they cussed on the way out, but I was fine. The kids were fine. The student was dealt with, and there we went.
I think every time that like that happens, you should get like a badge.
Power up badge.
Anti-rage bait badge. I will not be rage baited.
Right.
But no, those things happen, and they happen. And Steve's right. You just got to let it happen and not get upset about it. I think it's hard, though. Like, there is a human emotion and human reflexes that kick in when a kid, like, starts swearing at you or, like, coming at you. And you kind of have to shut that down. And it's like you can't practice that, because it's not an authentic thing if you practice it. But just, like, when the time comes, you got to be ready for that.
I think it's so important too for you personally to reflect on those ideas, like in your own time, and like sit with it, and maybe feel bad about it, but maybe feel good about it, or just replay it, and don't let that get too far away. Because it's going to happen again. What I mean by that is not like drive yourself with it, but to have it available. What tool are you going to use next time?
Yeah.
Right. And knowing that it's going to happen. You work in a school with a lot of kids. Things are going to happen. Yeah. But the idea of like being Jello in it when kids are looking for that initial pushback, that you can kind of let it go through you, or aside if you'd rather use the wind in the sail, just kind of open the sail, let the wind go right through, and give the student a safe landing place. And what I mean by safe, like a calm, like I'm not going to heighten the stress. I'm not going to heighten it. Okay. I will meet you where you're at, then I'll take it lower. And actually, I don't even meet them where they're at. I just go lower. Whatever their volume is, I go lower. Yep. Whatever their intensity is, I go lower. And, that's the way I have felt that it's best to deal with tough situations in the classroom. If I get agitated, I think that really gets the class agitated too.
And they notice. They'll notice, especially because you're typically kind of the same Mr. Peterson every day. You had moments of like zaniness over here, like, in your 20, 30 years teaching, you had a bit of craziness. You're still the same amount of zany, but it's like a predictable amount of zany, and it's like that's like your thing. But the moment that you kind of get riled up, the kids notice, because that's not your MO,
Yeah.
And once you handle something as aggressive or angry as a teacher, it's like you've set a new baseline for yourself and for the kids that like you have to go higher than that the next time to achieve the same result. It's just like adding more noise every time. So that creates a real slippery slope. Thinking also about Jello, and like not in terms of like really angry like students that are like itching for a fight, but just like more everyday classroom stuff going on. Here's a more recent example that's been cropping up, but shocking. Sometimes my students in band class have a hard time sitting with both feet flat on the floor.
Really? Never had that problem?
I'm sure you never
No,
have.
never did.
So I must be a really bad teacher that is now I'm getting my attention. So you could be a teacher like every day. You're like, feet flat, feet flat, feet flat, or worse. How many times do I have to tell you to put your feet flat? Do you see the floor? Do you feel gravity affecting you right now to get your feet down on it? Me too. Try it. That's kind of a good one. I should use that like
that
sarcastically.
Was good. You should.
like obviously you can take the angry elf route, and that is always available to you. But Steve said it's not going soft on them. It's being clever. And I would add to that, like, creative. Like, how many different ways can you get the kids to have their feet flat? A lot of the time, it's like in my count off, you know how this goes: 1 and 2 and feet flat, mezzo, forte, go. Right? You get really good at getting the rhymes and or the things in rhythm. So that is one I'll use, But then other times, I'll just like 1, 2, and I'll stare at the kids' feet until they notice. Then they fix it. 2, thready, go, right? And
Beautiful.
so, like, you have ways. In one class, I just started keeping a tally of how many times I noticed it, which kind of got funny because the kids would get into it, like the whole band would, because there was like one kid who would not get the feet flat. It was always crossed, and I kept a tally up there, and they kept erasing it every day. I should have put save next to it, but like we were like at 5 or 6 for one class period, and the kids are like, "Oh my gosh, come on!" They're like trying to get this person to lock in. So it's kind of humorous. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it's distracting. Yes, I shouldn't have to do that. You're right. But it definitely beat, "Oh my gosh, get your feet flat. What is this, beginning band?" Like that. We don't have to do that. So like finding creative ways and utilizing humor as a tool, the occasional sarcasm as a tool, not anger, not loud voices, but just something different, like keeping it creative. And I think that was a way to be Jello because it avoided confrontation. Because how many times you could stop your count off every time you try and start something with your kids because somebody is not perfectly at the right posture. Like that, I don't know if that would ever happen in in either of the bands I teach, but that is something that you could get carried away with if you're not careful.
That's a awesome example. That's a perfect example, and of coming up with a clever way to go about that. I think about the language idea.
How so?
With students, maybe when they're like in a social setting in your classroom and the language becomes a little bit more rough.
Oh, that language.
Like
I'm with you.
Walking it back, like this F and this and hey, let's try that again. Let's try that
Kiss
again.
your mother with that mouth?
Yeah, let's try that again. Want to walk that back? And I don't know if this is a good example.
But it sounds funny.
Students in the hallway that I don't know having a little kissy face time.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And they some of them would like to congregate by the music hall.
Yes.
Because it's a dead end.
Yes.
Right? So like Romeo and Juliet go there. And so instead of saying, that's not school appropriate behavior, but it said like, I'm in love, and I don't care who knows it. Or I go,
the elf.
yeah, or quit making out in the hallway.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right? Just
that's
bringing that, just like shaking stuff up. Just bring a different energy that is not what is expected. And I think you may be pleased with the results.
The Jazz one came in from lunch this year one day. They're like, "Mr. Hinkle, you got to go do something about this, man. It's the same couple every day." They like all came in and they were like, "Can you go?" And I went out there and they were already gone. But those are almost like, they're kind of fun at this point to break up because you just make them feel so awkward.
Right.
I think that's like real. Like you got to do that because it's fascinating how many kids will like find a little corner and get a little smooch session in. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. I yell the cooties thing most of the time, or like, "Oh my gosh, that's gross! Stop! And then typically the response is like, "You don't have to watch." I'm like, "Okay, back this up," because I've had kids say that to me. They're like, "Then don't look." I'm like, "Wait."
Yeah.
I said, "No, I work here. I get paid to be here. This is my job. I have to walk through these hallways every day. I have to be here.
I should expect not to see teenagers.
Trust me, I wish I could leave. After I watch that, trust me, I wish I could go burn out my retinas. But I still got to be on the clock for another 7 hours. So let's do this. Not that. Anything besides that. My gosh. It's best during the passing periods when you can really just spike up the embarrassment factor.
Ooh.
Like that's the key. That's the key. But you got to help them understand, like, I'm your teacher. Don't you feel odd?
Don't you feel embarrassed? You should. Let me
should.
film this and send it to your mother.
That's weird. You're right.
That's right, and so are you. Stop it.
You're right. Yeah, that's a painful one.
So I guess the bottom line is that look for clever. Look for not maybe the common response.
Humor, great tool. Non sequitur, great tool.
Yeah.
Anger, bad tool.
Bad tool. I had a I know we're almost out of time because Jack keeps on looking out the window longingly at the sunshine. Is that true?
So let's get to the point then.
Okay,
bud.
so I had a older brother of one of my students in Kentucky get really mad at me because I had disciplined his sister.
Knock your block off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And big guy was in college, played football, came into the band room, and he was defending his little sister because he didn't like the way I reprimanded her. And he said, "Buddy, I ought to knock your block off." And he was mad, and he meant it. And I just said, "I'm sure you could." And I stood there, and I was like, "This is going to hurt." And I was like, "But what do I do? Run?" Possibly. What do I say?
No, please don't.
Don't. Mercy.
I have 3 dental implants. Those aren't cheap.
Stop. No, that's a felony. You can't do okay. Either you are or you're not, but I wasn't gonna create a backstop for his wind and like let it blow back and get power after that.
That's good. That's good. Jello, not Teflon. Clever and creative. Don't use the dark side.
Okay. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We're now going to calm down. Thank you for liking and subscribing our podcast on Spotify and Apple. We always appreciate your feedback.
Keep
and
reviewing.
Your comments. We love it. Be sure to check us out on socials, Instagram and TikTok.
Give us reposts.
And YouTubes. Share that stuff around so others can see the goodness.
And buy a hat. Buy a mug. Get some stickers. If you're local and want some stickers, we'll hook you up.
Yeah, and I got a mug or 2 you can have. Or I'll sell it to you. No, I got 2.
We got 3. They're right here. Come
right
break
here.
into the office anytime.
Break them. They come again. Okay, so for Steve Peterson,
Jackie Cole.
Roddy.